Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Brian Kelly, the LSU Tigers landing their first commitment of this transfer portal window in former Oklahoma tight end Bauer Sharp. And look, there's going to be a lot of differing opinions on a guy like Bauer Sharp. I personally like this move a lot. Yes, he is going to be a fifth-year senior, but at the end of the day, Bauer Sharp's a guy that started at the FCS ranks playing quarterback, then transitioned to the tight end position, then transitioned to the SEC. And this was a guy that you read the Oklahoma spring practice notes from 8 months ago was making a lot of noise for Oklahoma in spring practice, was thought to be an absolute weapon for this Oklahoma offense. He ended up leading them in targets, receiving yards, and receptions. Yes, it wasn't sunshine and rainbows for Bauer Sharp in the Oklahoma offense. Look, there wasn't sunshine and rainbows for anybody in that Oklahoma offense. So one, it's a really intriguing athlete that I think even as a fifth-year senior can get better as a tight end, and a guy that just given a better situation, I think can make some things happen for LSU. We all know that LSU likes to run a lot of stuff through their tight ends. Bauer Sharp's capable of doing, and I think the addition of Bauer Sharp, the addition of just a tight end, allows you to continue to be, I guess the right word would be creative with Trades Green. I mean, I think we all know Trades Green probably not going to be an inline blocker, but this is a guy that I think really can be a good pass catcher on the outside. And the addition of Bauer Sharp allows you to continue to be creative in terms of how you use Trades Green as a pass catcher. Want to get into Bauer Sharp, but I also want to talk about some other names that LSU is going after in the transfer portal. We kind of knew they'd be aggressive. I mean, they're very aggressive early in the transfer portal, fired up to get into it. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. It's been a blast as we've gotten into this transfer portal window, talking about targets, talking about commitments, and for LSU, it's going to be really busy. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all enjoyed the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into this one. And let's start with Bauer Sharp, the player. Really, really good athlete. Really good with the football in his hands, too, which is something that is so important to this LSU offense. So you look at Joe Sloan, what he wants to do, it's getting athletes in space. And you look at Bauer Sharp, even at the tight end position, this is a guy that can operate with the football in his hands. He was a former Wildcat quarterback at Southeastern Louisiana. He's a guy that you want to get the football to, and he's a load to bring down. I think there's a lot of athleticism in that big frame that I think can continue to be developed. And again, normally when we talk about fifth-year seniors, it's kind of they are what they are. Are they going to take a big jump from their fourth year to their fifth year? No, probably not. I think Bauer Sharp is kind of an extenuating circumstance because one, he's jumping up from the FCS level. Two, he's going through a position change. Came in as a quarterback, moved to tight end, has continued to get better at the tight end position year two in the SEC. You might get a different version of Bauer Sharp, especially being in an offense that's a little bit more suited to being an effective offense and throwing the football. I mean, you look at Oklahoma, couldn't run the football, really struggled in pass protection. It was really hard to look good in that Oklahoma offense, and I think a lot of Sooner fans would probably agree with that. I'm excited to see what Bauer Sharp can do in an offense that allows him to be a little bit more of an offensive weapon. And look, at the end of the day, I think the Oklahoma coaching staff told us what they think of Bauer Sharp. He was leading this team in receiving yards, led them in receptions, led them in targets. This was a guy that they identified as a difference maker in this Oklahoma offense. And yes, there were a lot of pass catchers injured for Oklahoma, and Bauer Sharp kind of was the guy. He's probably not going to be the number one pass catcher for LSU in 2025, but I think he can give you a lot of juice. Now, you look at Bauer Sharp, I'm personally really excited about this kid, and we needed to add some depth to that tight end room. Barion Brown, it continues to look good for LSU there. This is a perfect fit. There are so many good wide receivers in the transfer portal. I think LSU's plan is, hey, what wide receiver can fit our offense the best? We just talked about Joe Sloan creating space, having guys who are electric with the football in their hands. It doesn't get any more electric than a guy like Barion Brown. And we talked about him before, 10.49 guy in the 100-meter dash coming out of high school. That speed translates so clearly at the SEC level. mean, this is a guy that is one of the more dynamic athletes with the football in his hands on an SEC football field because we saw it at Kentucky. Now, the numbers are not great for Barion Brown. I would argue because the quarterback play was not great. I mean, this is an absolute weapon. This is an immediate, to me, wide receiver one for LSU in the 2025 season and a perfect fit in terms of the space that LSU creates on offense. One of the things that we kind of talked about that I felt like was missing in this LSU offense in 2024 was the guys who could operate after the catch. Aaron Anderson was one of those guys. But outside of that, I feel like LSU kind of missed it. You go back to 2023, as much as we all wanted to talk about Malik Neighbors and what he could do as a route runner, which is very true, by the way, an elite route runner. He was really good after the catch as well. I don't know if LSU had that weapon that, hey, we get the football in his hands, watch out, he can go make a play. Barion Brown is that guy. Every time he has the football in his hands, you better hold your breath because he can change a game. This is a very good wide receiver that will be a very good fit in this LSU offense. This one would make a lot of sense. The last name, not a flashy name like Barion Brown, but a damn good name, Braelin Moore from Virginia Tech. You look at Braelin Moore, one, you're kind of, I wouldn't say rebuilding the offensive line, but you're losing a lot of experience and you're trying to, for lack of better terms, again, maybe rebuild would be the right term to use. This is a good place to start. You look at Braelin Moore, you're trying to get your best five out there. He can give you really good snaps at center, can give you really good snaps at guard, has started the last 2 seasons once at guard, once at center. So you get that position versatility and you get an experienced body on the inside of the offensive line. It's going to be a relatively new and young LSU offensive line. Bringing in a guy like Braelin Moore is going to really help the acclimation process for this LSU offensive line in 2025, which is probably one of the bigger concerns that you might have for LSU in the 2025 year. Nussmeier returns. You land Bauer Sharp, who I think has a lot of upside at the tight end position. You can potentially bring in a guy like Barion Brown, and I would guess maybe one other wide receiver. You're starting to feel really good about the skill that's going to be around Garrett Nussmeier. Then we continue to kind of bring in some veteran bodies on the offensive line. LSU's making it happen in the portal. And we kind of talked about this. There were some funds left over that were supposed to get allocated to that 2025 class, most notably a guy like Bryce Underwood, that now can be used to build up the some other positions that were clearly not good enough for LSU. They're doing that. I mean, bringing in some pass catchers, bringing in some offensive linemen, really going after some of the better names that you see in the back end of the defense in the secondary. Brian Kelly said he'd be aggressive. He's wasting no time getting aggressive in the portal. Bauer Sharp, again, a guy that maybe disappointed at Oklahoma. I think there were some other reasons why he disappointed. This is a guy that I really think could take off in the 2024 or 2025 season for LSU. We'll wrap it up there. Yeah, appreciate you guys rocking with it. All the support means the world. We're going to continue to break down the commitments as they come in. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.